Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We're going to be taking a little look at two beautiful Japanese divers from the Orient brand. We have the burgundy Kamasu here on the right and a little bit more expensive blue Triton on the left. Now I love both of these dive watches and I'm a huge fan of Japanese watches in general. I love Orient. I love their sister brand Seiko. I love Citizen. I think there are some awesome things coming from Japan. Now, a lot of watch guys, a lot of Japanese watch fans, they're turning to Orient because the big boy on campus, Seiko, is letting them down when it comes to a few different things like putting sapphire crystals in entry-level divers or having misalignment issues when it comes to the chapter ring, the dial, and the bezel pip, or the fact that sometimes you get issues with the hairspring on the 4R36 movement. Or, even the perceived value for money or bang for buck. A lot of guys don't feel that Seiko is quite offering what they used to in years past. Now, we're going to talk about these two specifically. I'll place some dimensions here on the screen. Size dimensions, movement specifications, general price points, so you guys can get a good sense of the two watches. Now, I have to note the Triton is the more expensive watch, so you should expect the Triton to excel in every aspect and beat the Kamasu, so to speak. And I'd say for the most part, it does that. It has nicer finish work. It has a nicer bracelet. It has, just a more substantive feel on wrist. It has a nicer lume application, nicer dial details, has the added power reserve complication, but there are a few things about the Kamasu that I think beat the Triton, and I find that pretty impressive. The first one is the handset. I love the polished handset. It's basically the same design when it comes to the form, but the all polished finish I think takes it to the next level, makes it look a little nicer, a little bit more upscale than the painted and the deep brushing that you find on the Triton. It just doesn't quite cut it for me. So if Orient would take the handset from the Kamasu, put it on the Triton, that would really be a nice upgrade. I think it's funny what a small difference something like that makes with the overall feel and aura of the watch, so to speak. So I'll put the Triton next to my Blue Coral Sumo from Seiko, which carries that same polished handset or same style. And you guys can see a huge difference in how it comes across. I think that's pretty interesting. Now, as far as fit, the Triton is a little bit smaller of a watch, so I think it will fit a larger range of wrists. It's going to be slightly lighter, so I think that would add to the comfort level. And the overall traditional nature of the design, I think, is a little bit more versatile as opposed to the Triton with the more bold design elements in the crown at the true 4 o'clock position. But let me pull the Kamasu up here in front of the camera and show you guys where it really goes to the next level, and that is the bezel action. You have very nice bezel action. It's easy to grip, it's easy to turn, and overall just has a nice uniform mechanical feel to the action of the bezel. Now I want to contrast that with the Triton, which has nicer grip, maybe a little bit louder sound. But you guys hear that? How there's a heavy click and then a soft click? It just doesn't feel as nice. I like the more uniform action of the Kamasu. This heavy, soft action makes it feel a little bit more mushy and more Seiko-like. You're going to have that issue on other Seiko dive watches, so just be aware of that if bezel action is a big deal to you. Now let's talk about detail work. We're going to do some macro shots of both dials. I love the color play here. I love the execution of the linear grain of sunray on the burgundy Kamasu diver and the more inky color changing feel of the blue dial on the Triton. So they've done the colors very well. They're deep and saturated. They look awesome in natural light, but you guys will notice a difference when it comes to the applied markers. The ones on the Triton are a little bit more substantial. The printing is more even when it comes to the luminescent formula. And so in low light situations, it's gonna be a little bit nicer and more potent and last a little bit longer than the Kamasu. Now again, looking in on a very close macro level of magnification, you guys can see the detail work on the Kamasu is a little uneven, a little grainy, not quite to the level of the Triton. Now, nobody's really going to see that with the naked eye. It's just us crazy watch guys that take out a macro lens or a loop and we're looking at the little details of our watches, right? It's kind of silly, it's kind of weird, it's kind of crazy, but hey, I do it. I'm guilty of doing it. I think it's fun. And it always, you know, when you see a nice level of execution on a watch, especially at an affordable price, it makes me respect the brand a little bit more and take a little bit more pride in my ownership of the watch, you know, and when I'm wearing it. So the Triton does carry that nice level of detail. Again, save for the hands. I really don't like the handset on the Triton. I much prefer the handset on the Kamasu. Now, when it comes to the movements, they're very comparable when it comes to jewel count, power reserve, stated accuracy from the factory, but the Kamasu will have the addition of the day wheel, which is nice, and you can get that in kanji, which I have here on mine, and the secondary language is English. And seeing as this is a Japanese diver I got from JapanOnlineStore.com, I love seeing the day done in kanji. I think that's a joy to look at. Now, if you look at the movement on the Triton, you'll see a sunken power reserve complication up by the 1 o'clock position. I think this is expertly placed. It's non-obtrusive. It's still visible. There's a slight amount of luminescent application on that small hand. So it's kind of fun. It does fade very quickly, but I always like seeing that. And I like the depth and the layer here when it comes to how that's sunken into the dial. So I will say I enjoy how balanced each watch is, even though they're different. Like you see a big void in low light situations on the 3 o'clock position on the Kamasu, but when you compare it to the Triton, you see every single marker, even though they're a little asymmetrical, they're not even in their form. So a little bit is taken out by the date wheel to 4 o'clock position and a little bit out of that 1 o'clock marker for the power reserve indicator. But let's zoom back out. I'll give you guys my final thoughts. Honestly, if you're thinking about buying either one of these, I think you're gonna make a good choice. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with either one. There's guys that much prefer the more traditional look of the Kamasu with the classic Orient quirkiness of the little notches in the bezel. Again, the greater amount of versatility, the short lug-to-lug length. And then there's gonna be guys, and I would put myself in that category, that prefer the Triton, spending a little bit more money, but getting, I would say just a slightly nicer product. Obviously, the bezel action is not gonna be as good, and the handset, guys, that just bothers me personally. You may not find that to be an issue, but I think the Triton is the nicer watch, and it should be, because it's a little bit more expensive. But I like the added weight in the case back. Man, take a look at this case back, and if you compare it to the Kamasu, they're really worlds apart when it comes to the execution and the feel that each one gives to the watch, that's respective watch. Feels kind of cheap on the Kamasu, but it feels above its price point on the Triton. So again, I think you're going to be able to get a great watch either way. Go with the one you think you would enjoy more. The Kamasu is going to fit a wider range of wrists. I'd say it's a little bit more comfortable, but the Triton, man, that's a pretty dang good buy for its going rate. I bought mine for $250 pre-owned, mint pre-owned, box papers, all that stuff. And I think you can find them for around $300, $320 new. And at that price, they really are pretty hard to beat. I think retail prices, guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's around like $500 or $600. Now, how does it compare to the Sumo, you may ask? I get this question quite frequently. Compares very well, but the Sumo is still much above the Triton, in my opinion, when it comes to the finish work. Just the classicness of the modern Sumo design. I do prefer the Sumo. I would say, even though the Orient Triton offers more when it comes to sapphire, power reserve complication, the same basic quality bracelet, I would say nicer case back, I still would choose the Sumo over the Triton. Even though it has less perceived value, I think it's a little bit more enjoyable package. And I mean, it's been around for 10 plus years. It's been a classic for a while, so that's not to be discounted. But anyways, guys, I'm rambling on long enough. I think the watches are awesome. I think they'd make a great addition at the affordable price point. I don't think you're going to go wrong between either one, but I prefer the Triton. And I think most people would probably gravitate a little bit more toward the Kamasu. But anyways, thanks for taking the time to watch. Really appreciate it. Let me know if you have any specific questions, and we'll see you guys in the next video.